I mean,
4.
4 o'clock.
All right, webinar has started. Recording is in progress. All right, so I'm going to get started here. Welcome and thank you for joining our webinar on viewing the latest feature released for Sage Intacct. My name is Tracy Thompson and I'll help facilitate our webinar today. Before we get started, here are a few tips on using the Zoom platform so you can engage with our presenters and have the best experience possible. You should see a Zoom toolbar with icons for Ask a Question and Raise Your Hand. Please use Ask a Question feature to submit a question or comment. If you need any assistance, click on the Raise Your Hand button and I'll connect you to help. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation and we'll do our best to answer them all. If we didn't get to answer your question, we will definitely follow up with you personally after the presentation. Within 72 hours of the webinar, you'll receive a link to download the slide deck and recorded presentation. Today's webinar does does qualify for CPE credits. To receive your credits, you must actively respond to 3 out of the 5 polling questions and stay on for the duration of the webinar. If you have any difficulty answering the polling questions, please email elevatelearn@armanino.com with any questions. And with that, I'd like to have our presenters introduce themselves. Todd.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Tracy. My name is Todd Bowlesby. I'm a senior manager here in our technology consulting practice and specifically a solution architect on the Sage Intacct platform. Jen?
Hi, Jen Bowman here. I'm a solution architect for Armanino, specializing in Sage Intacct. I also am a non-billable resource to help our clients and prospects to evaluate Intacct and make sure they make the most out of their Sage Intacct platform. Joining me today to help facilitate the chat are Jeremy Anderson and Forrest Shoemaker, both in our implementation and support consulting team here at Armanino. So thank you very much for letting us join and present the R2 updates.
So today's learning objectives: identify the latest release features of your solution, summarize how the enhanced user experience increases efficiency, and manage the latest release of the solution to promote productivity. And just remember that today is CPE qualified, but you have to make sure you answer all the questions and attend at least 55 minutes. And this is today's agenda. We're going to go over AP, AR, cash management, consolidation, some construction stuff, contracts, talk about the new Sage Fixed Assets Management, inventory control, order entry, Sage Intacct Planning, a new thing called Sage Intacct Fundraising, purchasing, revenue management, taxes, time and expenses, some financial and advanced reporting, PwC Control Insights, Sage Intacct Project Intelligence Update, Sage Construction Management, Platform Services, Customization and Extensions, and finally, the user interface. Jen, all you.
All right. Accounts payable. So as we know, AP Automation, the tool that uses AI and machine learning to automatically read in your AP bills, that has been available, and it's now generally available to all customers. They have now enhanced the artificial intelligence and the machine learning to be able to predict the GL account and other dimensions, such as location and department values, on a line-by-line basis. So in the beginning, you may need to correct some predictions and then post changes, but going through the motion will help the AI and ML to build a model of what you expect. Now you have easier access to payment files. So you may now generate and access payment files for ACH and bank file payments in the AP module without needing to navigate to cash management. So this is very useful when you want your AP processing team to just be managing this workflow within AP instead of having to navigate over to cash management. The permissions are still available for admins to permit or deny within the cash management submenu. All right, restricted user behavior. So Intacct has made some changes to restricted user behavior, and this enforces restrictions that are placed on users, and it helps protect data integrity. Within approvals, Department restricted users cannot approve or decline bills that contain line items that are coded to departments outside of their restrictions. So this change does ensure that when a user approves a bill, they are doing so with full knowledge of all of the line items associated within the bill. So this new functionality matches the existing behavior for entity restricted users. And with regard to editing bills, entity restricted and department restricted users also cannot post edits to bills that contain line items that are outside, of their restrictions. Editing tax information in a draft state. This has to do with the taxes module for international organizations. So Sage Intacct no longer validates the tax fields while bills are in a draft state. So this means that you can continue to work on a bill and save your progress before you select a tax solution or provide tax details. So you can also change this information before you post the bill. The tax solution, details, and the vendor are validated when you post the bill. And then memo reclassifications. When you reclassify a bill and change the memo is now updated on the corresponding bill payment in addition to the bill. So note, if this bill was posted to a period that is now closed, you won't be able to update the memo field.
Okay, and that brings up our first polling question. Get your pencils ready. Okay, your clicker's ready. The new enhancements to AP bill automation uses AI and AI, artificial intelligence, and ML, machine learning, to code which dimensions in the AP bills. GL account only, GL account department and location only, or what is AI and ML anyway?
All right, a few more seconds here and I will share the results. All right.
The vast majority of people got it correct. Great job, guys. Okay, AR, Jen.
AR. Sage Intacct is introducing more flexibility with customer payments. You may now draft customer payments that you're not quite ready to post, giving you that flexibility to come back to the payment, verify, make changes, update coding before you post to the subledger. Especially useful when payments were imported or synced in bulk. You may also post payments in bulk from the posted payments lister page. If you no longer need a draft, you can simply delete it from the list. And again, restricted use behaviors similarly to AP to restrict user behavior and enforce restrictions placed on users and protect data integrity when editing accounts receivable invoices. Entity restricted and department restricted users cannot post edits to AR invoices that contain line items outside their restrictions. This change ensures that users are allowed to modify only transactions for which they have full visibility.
Thank you, Jen. Moving on to cash management, Bank Transaction Assistant for file imports is now generally available. So there's a new way to import your bank transactions for reconciliation, focuses on flexibility, control, and visibility, and it's now generally available. This import experience takes the place of the classic import process. You can use one method or the other, but not at the both at the same time. Basically, when you choose one, the other goes away. So basically, the details are imported transactions appear in a centralized location for all bank accounts on the bank transactions page. Transactions you import remain in Sage Intacct even after reconciliation. More file formats are supported, giving you extra flexibility. So XLS, XLSX, and OFX. You can increase control of who imports bank transactions using permissions on the roles. And a new import activity list provides added insight. Now, that's not to be confused with the new Bank Transaction Assistant. So this allows you to easily and quickly assign customers to bank transactions and then receive multiple payments from multiple customers or for multiple customers, all from the bank transaction page. After you receive payments, the posted payments in Sage Intacct and the bank transactions automatically match for reconciliation. Who doesn't like that? For multi-entity, multi-currency companies, receive advances and payments at the entity level. So this little flow chart guy, you guys will all get a copy of this slide deck. You can analyze that. Basically, you assign customers to bank transactions, and you can do that either manually or you can have it done automatically. So to receive a payment, you first assign a customer to those bank transactions. But again, that can be assigned automatically. And there's the assignment rule screenshot there. And then you can receive payments in bulk as well. When a bank transaction has a customer assigned, you can receive a payment or create an advance. You can also receive payments in bulk. If there's no invoice for the customer, you can create an advance using the new AR advances template. Now, just keep in mind to receive payments from bank transactions, you'll need the new cash management permission, receive payments from bank transactions marked on the roll. Now you can run a reconciliation match sequence report. So recently introduced match sequences to bring visibility into your bank and credit card reconciliation matches. Now you can run a pre-built custom report to see which Sage Intacct transactions matched to which bank transactions. So you run the new detail of reconciliation matches report from the custom report area, set the parameters for the bank account ID, the GL account, or look up matches by a specific sequence. And then you can also group those by sequence number for easy visibility into which Intacct transactions matched with which bank transactions. In the report, you can view both the bank transaction and Intacct transaction, along with any available transaction details like description or bank record number, etc. You can customize the report to get just the detail you want. And here is a nice blurry copy, sorry, that's the best I could do, of the report. So you can see you got the bank ID, source, match sequence, bank number record, transaction date, match mode, cash in and out, Intacct transaction type, description, matched amount, transaction amount, and the currency. Moving on to consolidation. Post opening balance entries to retained earnings when consolidating mid-year. So as a best practice, Sage Intacct recommends consolidating from the first period where you have business activity. For situations where you need to consolidate after the first period, Sage Intacct now separates opening balance entries from retained earnings. For consolidations that start after the first period with transactions, Sage Intacct now creates opening balance entries on balance sheet accounts, including retained earnings. This enables you to benefit from the clear automated categorization and separation of opening balance from current period activities. So when you run that general ledger report on a consolidation book to observe the opening balances as separate from the consolidation entries. So it'll literally say, this is opening balance, and then this is the consolidation, which is very cool. And that brings us to polling question number 2. You can receive bulk payments using the new bank transaction assistant. Is that true or false? You got a 50-50 chance of getting that one right. Unless, of course, you're paying attention, and then you got a 100% chance.
Just give a few more seconds here. All right.
How do we do, Tracy?
Pretty good.
Good job. Virtually everybody got it right. So nice work. Yes, that is true. You can receive bulk payments using the new bank transaction assistant. Okay, moving on to construction. Got a few updates here. AR retainage release invoices now include project contract billing information. So when you release retainage invoices in AR, those invoices now include project contract billing information from the project or AR retainage tasks. This billing information will not appear on non-project contract invoices, which is nice. So it doesn't get cluttered up and confusing. So in addition to the project contract billing details tab on your AR retainage release invoices, you can now also see information similar to an order entry project contract invoice, such as external reference, contract description, contract date, architect, billing through date. And then for AR retainage release invoices, you can save the bill application value. The default value is blank. Override tax schedules and purchasing and order entry for construction. So you can override tax amounts and details on purchasing and order entry to address unusual situations, but sometimes customers with interstate projects need more granular control. Now, companies subscribe to the construction application and using advanced tax or a VAT tax solution can override the default tax schedule and transaction line items. This makes it easier to calculate taxes for transactions that cross tax jurisdictions. So when you create or convert a purchasing or order entry transaction, each line item is filled with the tax schedule associated with the vendor item or customer item. You can change the default tax schedule by selecting a new tax schedule in the tax schedule dropdown. So for example, if you have a vendor item that defaults to a Washington tax schedule, but the construction project needs to be taxed using Oregon rates, with this feature, you can override the default Washington sales tax schedule to the corresponding Oregon sales tax schedule. When you change the tax schedule, the totals recalculate automatically. And if you have subtotals turned on, you must recalculate those manually. Keep in mind, this feature is only available for companies with construction subscription and using advanced tax or VAT tax solution. So for those of you that don't know what DDS stands for, that stands for Data Delivery Service. It's a way to export data out of Sage Intacct. It's been around forever. You usually see this when you need to, maybe you want to export data and leverage Excel to manipulate it a lot more, or you're feeding it into a data warehouse. So construction now supports these, or the DDS really now supports these construction related objects, things like AR retainage, AP release entry, retainage release entry, etc. Store project and notes on corresponding compliance records. So now you can track compliance records related to a project. You use notes on compliance records to describe the project, the job, vendor, or purchase order and subcontract. These notes are visible to all compliance record users. So when you create a commitment, the project is now automatically included on the compliance record. You can easily add or change the project on the compliance record. In addition, you can include the project on your printed document templates. So this is what it looks like down here on this compliance record we're looking at. Over here, we can see we've got the project there now, and we've got some notes over here. This one says, please sign by end of business. Thank you. So polite. I like that. Work in progress. This is big. Ooh, this is awesome. So a WIP management tool. It's being released early adopter. I hear, don't hold me to this, but I hear they're going to try to have it fully released to general availability by the end of the year. But right now, released early adopter phase, use WIP schedules to track overbilling and underbilling and show the predicted profit at the end of your project. WIP schedules are useful for project managers, controllers, CFOs, and anyone monitoring the profitability of ongoing projects. CFOs and project managers can use the interactive reporting tool to enter their own project cost and revenue forecasts to go along with the data pulled from Sage Intacct Construction. Values are pulled from projects, estimates, contracts, recorded costs, and customer billing. And then those folks like the CFO or the PMs, controllers, they can go in and put in their own forecast to these. Each WIP schedule covers a specific period. The WIP schedule periods are based on the reporting periods that you already have set up in your entity. Each row in the WIP projects section represents an ongoing project. Each column contains information for that project and the WIP schedule period. So now we're going to jump over to a real quick demo. I'm going to just show you, let me jump over here, the retainage on an invoice. I'm in a construction enabled area here. This is a retainage invoice that was released. Just going to hit the view button there, and you can see now we've got this job contract billing details here. And you can see it's got the contract ID, the name, the AR invoice, the billing through date. These are the new fields. Billing application number, and so on, along with all the rest of the project related stuff. And then the nice thing about that is I go back here and I look at a non retainage, I don't see all of that information coming in here. So it's not cluttering that up. So that's that retainage AR, the new AR retainage fields there. All righty, moving right along to contracts. Improved insight into posted revenue exchange rates. For contracts and multi-currency companies, Sage Intacct schedules revenue using the exchange rate associated with the contract line's exchange rate date. After the related billing is posted, any posted revenue amounts use the exchange rate associated with the invoice exchange rate date. Previously, the exchange rate associated with posted revenue was not easily viewable. You can now access the revenue schedule's multi-currency values in one place, giving you a more accurate reflection of a revenue schedule's current value at a glance. Get this big picture view by including the posted exchange rate and the posted base amount data in your custom reports based on the contract revenue schedule entry report object. Sage Intacct added the following fields to the contract revenue schedule entry report object and to the revenue schedule window in the user interface: posted exchange rate and the posted base amount. The posted exchange rate displays one of the following after the corresponding revenue is posted. If the associated billing is not posted, this field displays the exchange rate associated with the contract line's exchange rate date. After the associated billing is posted, this field displays the exchange rate from the associated invoice. And this, my friends, is what it looks like. So here's a revenue schedule, and we're looking at the posted exchange rate here versus the posted base amount. Now, I realize they're the same in this wonderful example, but you get the idea. Sage Fixed Asset Management. So I'm going to kind of go pretty quickly through these first slides because they're saying they're announcing it. If you were on the last release, well, they announced it then. So all of this stuff is just talking about, how they've announced the new Sage Fixed Asset Management. It comes with a new dimension. You can use it at the top or entity level. It's got automatic multi-book depreciation posting. That's super cool, actually. You can set it up to automatically post instead of having to go in and review every month and manually post. And these are the different, methods and conventions that it supports. So straight line, daily DR, 150 declining, 200 declining, et cetera. Now, one of the new things that they did augment here was the ability to create fixed assets, not just from an AP bill, but you can also create it from purchasing. So that's nice. In the previous release, you could not do disposals yet. So you can now do disposals, which is nice. And then it's always had the ability to revert accidental changes. That's super cool. And then you can review your usage rate. That's because the new Sage Fixed Assets Management module is based upon the number of fixed assets. So it's tiered. So you can see how many fixed assets you have in the system. And then you can report the depreciation forecast report provides a detailed information on remaining depreciation. So here's what it looks like when you're creating an asset from a purchasing transaction. Again, that's the main new functionality here. So assets are automatically created at the time of their acquisition. The cool thing is each line in a transaction can generate one asset. So only transactions that post to accounts payable can create those assets as well, by the way. So Sage Intacct, the details. Sage Intacct checks if the items in a transaction are associated with an asset classification. The association is defined in the asset or the transaction definitions posting configuration. If a match is found, you provide a name for the new asset on that line item. When the transaction posts, it creates an AP bill, which then generates an asset. You can review the asset to add additional details in the fixed assets module. The new asset is automatically tagged as a dimension on the transaction, which is totally cool that you have a new dimension now for fixed assets. Improved workflow for non-depreciable assets. Sage Intacct introduced some changes to improve how you view and work with non-depreciable assets. Simplified your view by only showing the most important information. They added disposal detail fields so the information is easily accessible, and they added an optional setting in configuration for selecting a disposal journal. On the assets page, the following areas are no longer displayed for non-depreciable assets. So don't worry, they're still displayed for your standard depreciable assets. So depreciable cost tile, depreciable rules section, depreciable schedules tab. Those are no longer displayed on non-depreciable assets. In the disposal details section of the asset page, the following fields are now displayed for non-depreciable assets: gain or loss amount, the journal, and the GL batch ID. Additionally, Sage Intacct added a new setting in fixed assets management configuration. This setting allows you to assign a journal for the disposal of non-depreciable assets. Other updates in fixed assets, there are some user interface changes. They added the attachment column. So now you can select the paperclip icon to view files attached to an asset. They added the when created column, which displays the date the asset record was created. They updated the default sort order to show the most recently created assets at the top of the list, and now sorts by the when created date in descending order. They removed the serial number and asset tag columns to create more space for other columns. Additionally, they made the following changes. For the asset classifications default list view, they added GL account ID columns. On the view asset and view asset classification pages, the GL accounts are now links, which is cool. Select one to open the GL account details in a pop-up. For the post-depreciation default list view, they removed the GL batch key column and added the GL batch ID column, which they probably should have done from the beginning, but who am I to say? Daily depreciation disposal calculations. So Sage Intacct updated their daily depreciation calculations to comply with laws governing fixed assets and depreciation in France and other regions. Before, when you disposed of an asset under the daily method, the asset did not depreciate in the month of disposal. Now a new entry is added to the depreciation schedule, and an additional depreciation expense GL batch is created to account for the partial accumulated depreciation in the month of disposal. There's some updates to the import service, a new look and feel, ability to hide empty columns, separated header and detail sheets, fiscal rollover for document sequences. So fixed asset management now supports rolling over asset ID sequences each fiscal year. No more worrying about running out of sequences or manually resetting them at the start of each fiscal year. To support this feature, however, after an asset is created, you can no longer edit the year of its acquisition date. If a change is needed, delete the asset and create a new one in the correct year. Inventory control. There's an inventory inquiry for kit components. Replacing a kit component can be a challenge if an item is used in several kits. With the new kit component item inquiry report, you can easily locate all the kits where specific items are included. Once the items are identified, you can make your required adjustments. So you can perform a kit component item inquiry to identify kits which include a specific component item and adjust component item details for impacted kits. This is pretty cool. Supplies inventory, it's being released in early adopter phase right now. And employees can enter requisitions for items designated as supplies inventory, such as office or program supplies or computer equipment. The supplies manager can easily process requests and monitor status using the workbench. This streamlined ordering process provides you with the ability to track supplies requisitions, gain insights into usage trends and cost insights across periods, and manage inventory levels and reorder when needed to avoid availability details. So this is what the new supplies workbench looks like. You got your request date, the document, a line number that's on that document, what the item is that's being requested, the unit, the quantity, the sourced quantity, warehouse, price, employee, line status, and then you can perform some actions there. So very, very cool stuff. Again, that's in early adopter release right now. So when an employee creates the supplies request, it can be fulfilled immediately or routed through an approval process. To fulfill the order, the supplies manager complete one of the following tasks based on item availability. Issue the items directly from available inventory. That's pretty cool. Create a purchase order if an item is not available internally. Create a direct shipment purchase from the vendor to the employee. Moving on to order entry. Bill for services with blanket purchase orders. So now you can easily bill for services and other non-inventory items based on a setting a set billing value. Using the sales order workflow, you can now convert billing for services to automatically draw down on approved blanket sales order amount. If you operate a service delivery company, you may want to have customers set up a blanket purchase order so you can bill for services over a period of time. As your services are provided and charged each month, you can keep track of the remaining balance. So you can see there, they've got a new price versus the quantity conversion type. So when you set up when you're setting up and managing blanket sales orders, you'll complete the following tasks. You'll configure the order entry to support conversion by price instead of quantity. Choose whether to allow override on conversion type while entering or updating transactions. And then a note there, price conversion is not supported in recurring non-inventory transactions. The remaining balance can be manually calculated. Once price conversion is selected, it cannot be deactivated. And that, my friends, brings us to polling question número 3. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask the question in Spanish. True or false? With the new Sage Fixed Assets Management module, you can create fixed assets from journal entries. Ooh, that's a tricky one. What do you guys think?
All right, just a few more seconds and I'll share the results.
Those of you needing CPU credit, get in there
Yes,
and answer
exactly.
that polling
3
question.
out of 5. Don't miss out.
Now, you don't have to get 3 out of 5 right. Let's be clear
No.
about that. No pressure.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share here.
The answer is false. Ooh, we fooled most people. That's interesting. So yeah, you cannot create a fixed asset from journal entries, only currently AP bills and purchasing transactions. All right, moving on to Sage Intacct Planning, enhancements in Sage Intacct Planning. So in Sage Intacct Planning, you can modify the IDs. Oh, well, in Sage Intacct, sorry. You can modify the IDs and names of existing accounts, GL accounts, which can create differences with the accounts that appear in Sage Intacct Planning. To ensure that data presented in planning accurately matches Sage Intacct, you can now run the Sync Accounts with Sage Intacct Wizard. The changes that you make in the wizard update everything associated with the updated accounts and are reflected throughout Sage Intacct Planning, including dashboard, sheets, inputs, and actual tabs, versions and scenarios, shared budgets, and statistical accounts and models. So to be clear, this is not updating Sage Intacct. That's the system of record, right? It's updating from Sage Intacct all of that information into SIP, Sage Intacct Planning. Now, for the nonprofit folks on board, there has been a new announcement, Sage Intacct fundraising. So you can empower development, manage donor data, donor communications, and execute successful fundraising campaigns with an end-to-end solution. Utilize tools for online fundraising and monthly giving programs. Leverage connected fundraising and financial data, feeding dashboards and reports to elevate decision-making. So, it says down there, this solution is powered by Donor Perfect. Between you and me, it's Donor Perfect with an integration to Sage Intacct with a nice seamless connection. So keep that in mind. So if any of you folks are, sick of your development solution, you're looking for a new donor management system, fundraising system, then we got you covered. Purchasing, Jen.
All right. So paying for services with blanket POs. So much like the order entry piece, where there's a blanket order entry functionality for services, now you can easily purchase services and other non-inventory items against a set purchase value. So using the purchase order workflow, you can now convert purchases of billable services, such as your friendly Armanino consulting firm, to automatically draw down on an approved blanket purchase order amount. So this does require an admin to enable within the purchasing setup configuration tab, check the checkbox to enable price conversion. Once activated, it cannot be deactivated, just like in the order entry feature. And if you want to enable override on transaction conversion type, you check that selection and save. All right, so with automated transaction matching, again, this has to do with the AP bill automation feature. You define how incoming purchase documents map to existing source transactions in a one-time setup. Then instead of converting purchase transactions to vendor invoices, you let Sage Intacct match incoming vendor invoices using the following flow. So first, you'll email or upload those vendor invoice documents for automated processing. Then using the AI, machine learning, detecting the vendor and matching the vendor invoice to a purchasing transaction is what Intacct will do automatically. Then the system then creates a draft vendor bill for you with the source document attached. You validate, so a business user would then go and validate the draft transaction against the vendor invoice, make any corrections, other coding, as necessary, and then post. Your
That's
corrections
huge.
yeah, absolutely. The PO matching is huge. And in addition, with the AI and the machine learning, it will educate itself and get better as it moves along and improves the machine learning model and then improves future matching.
Ooh, that's awesome.
So in revenue management, and as you can see the little light bulb, this idea came from you. We always encourage you to stay in touch with the Intacct community. You can, collaborate with other users and also suggest and vote on ideas for improvements that are then elevated in the roadmap for Intacct to create future improvements for future releases. So in revenue management, there are new filters and layout changes in the Manage Revenue Schedule page. So you can search smarter and find schedules faster using the new dimension or dimension filter group. This has to do with folks that have the revenue management deferred revenue module within Intacct. You can enter either a single dimension or dimension group in these fields. For example, if you enter either an item or an item dimension group in the item or item group field, then your options are now displayed across 4 columns instead of 2. New filters and layout changes continued. Many of the columns in the filtered schedules section now have a filter capability. Use the column filters to further refine the revenue recognition schedules on which you want to act. For example, if you're looking for a particular line number or a particular transaction, you may enter the line number and part of the transaction number in the applicable column filter fields. New RevRec schedules list, another idea that came from users. Sage has added a new revenue recognition heading to the Order Entry All tab. You can use the Revenue Schedules menu option to access the new Revenue Recognition Schedules list. The new lister uses Sage's enhanced beta listing framework, giving you flexibility to add or remove columns from the view and to resize and freeze columns. In addition, you can view the list and the schedule details side by side with the ability to view, edit, hold, or terminate schedules in the split view. Taxes. This is regarding the tax application for international organizations. Cash basis VAT capture is available now for France. You can capture taxes for VAT reporting at the point of payment with cash basis VAT capture. So by default, the taxes application captures VAT or GST at the time an invoice or bill is issued. It's a process known as invoice basis tax capture. In entities using a French tax solution, you can choose instead to capture VAT or GST at the time the invoice or bill is paid, otherwise known as the cash basis tax capture.
Say that 3 times fast, Jen. Come on.
Yes. TVA Francais edition. So to facilitate tax calculation and reporting, we added TVA Francais to the Sage Intacct list of standard tax solutions. TVA Francais provides an automated setup for the tax rates for domestic VAT in France. So using this solution in one or more entities lets you access several other features that are exclusive to France, such as the cash basis, VAT capture that I just talked about, and partial exemption. You can also create tax submissions through Sage regulatory reporting and export your taxable transactions in the accounting entries file FEC format.
I didn't know you spoke French.
Francais. That's about it. Oui, baguette. All right, so updates and enhancements for other countries. UK, United Kingdom. Sage Intacct updated tax submission to account for transactions that are using reverse charge in partially exempt transactions. For South Africa, the offset credits on sales and purchases for VAT reporting checkbox is available for entities in South Africa. It controls whether returns to suppliers and credits to customers are reported in the adjustment fields or as offsets in the input and output VAT fields on the VAT 201 declaration. In Canada, the new printed invoice template for Canada lets you generate accounts receivable and order entry invoices so that they display the totals for PST and GST in the transaction currency rather than in the base currency. So, and as mentioned previously, you can continue to work on a bill and save your progress before you select a tax solution or provide tax details. This is available throughout the solution. You can also change the information before you post the bill. The tax solution details and the vendor are validated when you post the bill. Partial exemption enhancements for France and the UK. So capturing the appropriate taxes can be challenging when a portion is exempt from taxation. I alluded to this previously, but with this enhancement, you can set partial exemption percentages at the tax detail level for entities operating in France or in the United Kingdom. Then you can apply those partial exemptions to line items in AP and purchasing transactions. When you make an expenditure that qualifies for a tax credit, you can recover a percentage of the taxes paid on that expenditure, otherwise known as a partial exemption. So note that you can only enter bills with partial exemption line items at the entity level. So if you're working at the top level, the partial exemption line items do not apply. So updates to the TPAR for Australia, otherwise known as the Taxable Payments Annual Report. So it's not too late to join the early adopter program for those of you who have Australian tax commitments. This option exports the TPAR file in a format that's ready to then upload to the Australian Tax Office or the ATO. So Sage has adjusted how to calculate the gross amount paid to align with ATO requirements. The following amounts are included in the gross amount paid calculation. Payments made against bills during the reporting period, not including any credits applied. Advances paid to the vendor during the reporting period, whether or not they were applied. Then the following are not included in the gross amount paid calculation. Bill payments that were voided during the reporting period, advances that were voided during the reporting period, and adjustments that were created and credit that was applied during the reporting period. The total tax withheld as entered in the vendor information record.
Thank you, Jen. Time for another polling question. Polling question number 4. With the new Sync Accounts Wizard in Sage Intacct Planning, SIP, changes you make update only the accounts in SIP, only versions and scenarios, only shared budgets, or dashboard, sheets, inputs, and actuals and tabs, versions and scenarios, shared budgets, and statistical accounts and models. Whoosh, that was a mouthful.
Say that one 3 times fast.
No.
Just give a couple more seconds for everyone to answer. All right, I'm going to share the results.
The answer is yes. The majority of people got it. It is the last option, option D there, or I guess not D, but dashboard sheets, inputs and actuals, tabs, versions and scenarios, shared budgets and statistical accounts and models. I said it 2 times fast now, Jen.
Right.
Time and expenses, ability to distribute employee expenses. So Sage Intacct now offers the ability to distribute employee expenses based on transaction allocations in an expense report. That's actually very cool. This allows you to distribute employee expenses quickly. You can distribute employee expenses and credit card transactions linked to an employee. Previously, when you created an expense report, you would need to calculate the distribution and enter several lines for an expense item. Now, when you create an expense report, you can distribute the amount paid for a transaction. Sage Intacct calculates the amount to distribute between departments, cost centers, grants, programs, or classes. Intacct distributes the amount based on the transaction allocation. To distribute employee expenses, an admin must select the Enable Allocation to Distribute Expense Entry checkbox on the Configure Time and Expenses page. A transaction allocation determines how Intacct distributes the amount of an employee expense. Only use transaction allocations that are percentage-based in an employee expense. And here's an example. So you can see over here, it says add distributed expense, select credit card transactions, that sort of stuff, and it'll distribute it based upon an allocation. And when you click on this button, it'll actually bring up a window where you can choose the transaction allocation you want to utilize. Okay, this is actually pretty cool too for any of you SIT or Sage Intelligent Time users. GA for the embedded version. So Sage launched the embedded experience for Sage Intelligent Time under an early adopter program in 2023 R3. Now they've announced that the embedded experience is generally available for all users. The embedded experience allows you to access Sage Intelligent Time directly from the time and expenses or projects application in Sage Intacct, eliminating the need to manage timesheets in a separate platform. By embedding SIT with Intacct, users can effortlessly manage projects and leverage AI-powered timesheets in one place. Note, now that SIT is integrated into Intacct, the standalone version of SIT will be discontinued on August 9th of this year, so not very long. After this date, users will access SIT through Sage Intacct and log in with their Sage Intacct credentials. Also, keep in mind, it doesn't say on this slide, you're still going to have the SIT mobile app as well. So here you can see the embedded experience. We're actually in Sage Intacct here, and it's SIT instead of going to a separate website like you currently have to do, or you used to have to do. Now you don't have to.
Very
Financial
cool.
reporting. Yes, very cool. Improved financial reporting for projects. So Jeremy was super excited about this. He said that a lot of his clients are super stoked and have been asking for this. So there's a new reporting feature making it faster and easier to get financial information about your projects. When scheduling a report, you can now filter the report by project or project group. If you filter by project group, you can select individual report to divide the report into separate sections for each project in the group. And in the financial report writer, the project filter on the filters tab has a new run as individual reports option. If you filter by all projects or by a project group, you can select this option to divide the report into separate sections for each project. Note that generating individual reports for each project in a group works for project groups with up to 500 projects. So let's jump over to my demo system, and we're going to go over here. And we're in Report Center, so that first piece that I talked about there, when we edit the schedule on any report in the Report Center, for those of you who may recall, been familiar with this, we always had department and location group. Now we have the project group where, yes, we can select an individual project if we want, but we can select project groups. And now we also have this individual report if we select a group of projects. So that's in the scheduling of the financial report. And then if we actually go into a financial report and just quickly put in some required information here. All right, and so when we jump over to the filters tab here, we now see project, and we now see the run as individual reports. Of course, we've always been able to choose a specific project or project group. So when you grab all projects or project group, click the run as individual reports, it'll give you sectioned report. Okay, let's jump back over here. Advanced reporting. The interactive Visual Explorer enables you to explore data with visualizations that illustrate your data's story. Story time. The workflow tasks walk you through using calculations, creating filters, and applying different visualizations to analyze data from different perspectives. This capability allows you to fully explore correlations and patterns and discover trends. So these are all new IVE or Interactive Visual Explorer workflow walkthroughs to basically help you get trained up. So the following workflows walk you through creating visual boards, applying calculations, and exploring the data with a variety of visualization types. Each workflow provides tasks that build on one another. It is recommended that you complete the workflows in the order listed. Workflow 1, report and chart visualizations, creates a bill analysis report visual board, applies calculations, and explores bar and donut chart visualizations. Workflow 2 builds on that. Table and chart visualizations, creates an accounts receivable table visual board, applies calculations, and explores scatter and pie chart visualizations. In workflow 3, pivot table and chart visualizations, creates a bills analysis year-over-year pivot table visual board, applies calculations, and explores combo, donut, and display tile visualizations. Who doesn't want a donut? All right, PwC Control Insights for Sage Intacct is now generally available. If you're on the last one, we talked about how it was still in early adopter. PwC Control Insights is designed with compliance and growth in mind, helps you strengthen your company's environment as you scale your business in Sage Intacct. So basically, it supports your controls maturation journey in the following ways. It promotes accuracy and trust with strong internal controls, streamlines audits and minimizes disruption with audit-ready financials, safeguards your data with world-class cloud security. The Controls Insights dashboard provides an at-a-glance view of your company's transactional and control health. Dashboard visualizations are generated from Sage Intacct workflow controls data. And here's an example of what that may look like in your case. Very, very cool stuff. Sage Project Intelligence. For those of you that don't know, there is Project Intelligence out there. It's a pre-built set of, I believe, 5 dashboards. And they do enhance them. It is a subscription because they do things like this. Latest enhancements with Project Intelligence. So Sage Project Intelligence provides insight into employee time and performance, understanding employee efficiency, helps uncover project trends, and drive smart business decisions. The latest release enhances enhancements designed to streamline project management and financial processes for service organizations. So service organizations often engage in fixed fee basis project work. Project Intelligence can distribute fixed fee revenue to employees based on their billable hours worked on fixed fee projects. Before you can distribute fixed fee revenue, you configure Project Intelligence to establish accounts, dimension groups, journals, and other relevant information. You can also bulk import project percent complete information using an upload CSV file. You can use the download template to download that file. And then you can track operating costs covering non-labor expenses like billable materials. And now they're now factored into both actual and estimated gross profit calculations using the profitability and project analytics dashboard. Operating cost totals are also displayed on dashboard performance cards and reports. To omit those from gross profit calculations, dashboards do not assign those accounts to the SI service operating costs unmanaged account group. Other enhancements, new performance cards are available to track operating costs for the following timeframes: year to date, this month, trailing 1 year period. There's a new bottom. There was formerly also, or currently, that came out with originally a top 25. Now there's a bottom 25 customers and project report highlighting the lowest performing customers and projects with associated operating costs. Operating costs have been added to the following reports: top 25 customers and projects, updated PM overview financials. Sage Construction Management, Jen.
All right, great. So this is the program that runs in tandem with Sage Intacct Construction, and it manages the lead and project management aspects for construction projects. The new releases, release retainage on prime invoices. So now you can release retainage on prime invoices. When you release the retainage on the invoice, that amount is sent to Sage Intacct Construction. In Sage Intacct, the following happens for the applicable line entries. The retainage release line checkbox is automatically selected, and the amount is entered in the retainage to bill this period field. Other enhancements, the support portal is now available. To request an account to access the portal, send an email to the support team at the email address listed here. And you also have more control over the appearance of the checklist screen. Select the Show Only checklist with open items checkbox above the grid to filter the list. Add columns that show the number of open and closed items in each checklist. In platform services, customizations, and extensions, enjoy more control. You can exclude selected components when publishing applications. In customization packages, you can include smart links, smart rules, and smart events. In platform applications, those modules that you build on top of your Intacct environment, you can now exclude these components from a customization package. For example, you might have a package that you previously installed and want to add standard object customizations. With the update, you can do so and ensure that existing data in smart rules, smart events, and smart links are not lost. The audit trail checkbox for system-generated object fields has been removed. To improve usability, they have removed this checkbox. Intacct has updated the edit page for object fields that are system-generated. The option to track changes to this field in each record's audit trail for a complete historical log no longer exists. This option still appears on object field pages for objects that are not system-generated. And so you may now generate audit logs for object changes without needing to install the audit log package. To prevent conflicts with this new solution, Intacct now blocks installation of the audit log package and prevents the execution of the events associated with it. So any events associated with a former audit log package do not execute. Relevant logs reflect that the event has been blocked. This enhancement means you do not need an application package to add events to object changes. This change also means that you can more easily create audit reports and share them. When you create a smart event, you no longer see an option to select log from event properties. You can continue to select email, HTTP post, or API for the event properties. Instead, create a report based on the audit trail and add it to the application menu for easy access. And you can view help content to learn for instructions on how to set that up. List enhancements. So definitely, once again, encourage you to try the lister beta interface. If you want to try it on the vendors list, go to AP, all tab vendors, turn that on. Allows you to add, move, and resize columns, freeze columns on the screen to preserve the view when scrolling. You can sort the columns by the data that's meaningful to you. You can save your customized views for future use. Advanced filtering. You can also easily narrow down your data. So advanced filtering works across columns and can even save what you filter into a custom view for repeated use. Examples include searching for a range on date and amount fields, combining multiple filter criteria using and or operators. You can view record details next to your list, showing the details in a side-by-side split view mode. And then more enhancements include bulk operations, improved organization, and central management of list views, and more colors for displaying hierarchy. On the next few pages, which we don't need to go through in detail, you will see there are a number of different user interface changes. Different labels have been just adjusted to account for the improvements that have been made, in the past, number of releases. And so you can just look through this list once a few days has passed, and you receive the PowerPoint for your review and maintenance.
Cool. So I was going to show a quick show that I see we're at the top of the hour, though. So I'm going to jump right to the polling question, just make sure everybody gets their CBE credit. There are 4 new workflow walkthroughs within the Interactive Visual Explorer IVE. True or false? but I would piggyback on what Jen said there. It's very easy to go into your vendor list. You'll see on the upper right that there's a spot where you can turn on the beta view, and then you can always switch it back if you want to. But it's pretty cool because you get a split screen and all that sort of stuff.
All right.
Woo! That's wrong. Sorry, I fooled you guys. It's actually false. There's not 4, there's only 3.
Oh, trick
Oh,
question.
mean Todd. Oh, he's mean. All right. Whether you have new employees and need to get up to speed quickly or simply need to learn more about the features and functionality of Sage Intacct, check out Armanino Academy. Any additional questions? Please reach out to Jeremy or Forrest or anyone else at Armanino. We can help you out. And look at that,
Awesome.
finished right on time.
Woo.
Woohoo! I
Thank
was
you,
sweating it
Todd
there
and
for a
Jen.
minute.
No, that was awesome. That wraps up our webinar today. Again, we will share out the recording and presentation, and we hope everyone has a great day. Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.